Morena tātou, welcome everybody. Welcome to staff, welcome to elected members, welcome to Chris, welcome to anybody who's watching online to our extraordinary council meeting. Could we please turn our pages to the opening karakia, which Tanya is willing to lead.
Kia ora koutou, morena, ka tīmata tātou. Mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te titiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te manawanui, mā te aroha, ka taia e tātou.
Thank you, Tanya, and thanks everybody. We do have one apology this morning, and that is from Councillor Willison. I'd like to move that apology be accepted. Councillor Tamaki, all in favour? Carried, thank you. There are no late items. Any councillors who feel they should declare a conflict of interest? No. On that note, we'll move to item 225, local water done well, options analysis and identification of preferred options. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Nadia. Welcome, Ian.
Good morning, Your Worship, councillors. I'll just do a couple of introductions. Obviously, got Anne here in the building today. I'm not sure if Barry's online, but no. So, but before I start, I just acknowledge the work of the Three Waters project team to get us to this point. Also, our staff that have had to fit a lot of this extra work into their day-to-day roles, and also our consultants that have helped us with our technical or additional technical skills. So just want to acknowledge that at the start. I'm going to take the report as read, but I have got a bit of a preamble here to go through. So I'll start that off. So water reform, it's not something new. It's something we've been working through reform for years now. I looked back at some earlier sort of correspondence, and the best date I can put on it is about July 2020 is when we really started to see momentum gain in the water reform, and that was around the establishment of the local government Three Waters Steering Committee, which were basically tasked with the oversight and guidance to support progress towards reform. And some of the things that were identified back then were the challenges in underinvestment in infrastructure, persistent unaffordability challenges, and the need for additional investment to meet the improvements in freshwater outcomes, resilience to climate change, and natural hazards from communities. So I just thought I'd put that in there because it's obviously something we're still faced with as of today, 5 years on. I'd also mention that July 2020, I think we'd just come out of lockdown, so we were obviously faced with a lot of other challenges at the same time. So it has been a long journey to get to today, but it's not over yet. This is only a sort of like, I suppose, another part of that journey. I'd just like to say that, Ōtorohanga has always stayed engaged with reform, whichever shape it may have taken. So we've always sort of taken that position of an open mind, be part of the discussion, and that has allowed us to be quite agile and adjust to any sort of shape it might take. Whereas we could have taken a position early on of I suppose, of not being engaged and not being part of it, which I don't think would have delivered the outcomes ultimately. So that was an early on decision when you look back at some of the earlier reports that were brought to Council about how Council was going to engage with reform. So reform took a significant change back in October 2023 with the change of the government, and we had to adjust from the Three Waters reform to the local water done well policy. And as I sort of mentioned just earlier, the same challenges that existed in 2020 still exist today, and that is I suppose, the reason behind the process we've gone through and which the government's identified. So councils have done a great job in delivering water services for decades, and I think it's important we don't lose sight of that. And if I use a sports analogy, I think the rules of the game have changed. So as with any business or organisation, we must evolve to the changing environment we work in. And today you have in front of you a report, which is the first part of that change. and is probably one of the most significant decisions a council or as elected members will make. This report is a decision on consultation on the preferred delivery model. So it's not a report on a decision on the delivery model, it's a decision to go out to consultation. So I think that's the key to address. And we as staff have the responsibility to provide you as elected members with the best information possible to make that informed decision. So throughout the last year or so, we've explored the potential delivery options for Ōtorohanga District Council. The government gave us 5 to choose from, and we reduced that down to 2, and one being the enhanced status quo or in-house delivery model, and the second being the multi-regional model or CCO model, Waikato Water Done Well. We're required to consider at least 2 options, and those are the 2 options we've chosen, and we're only required to consult on one, but we must show how what our other options we considered and how we arrived at that process. So we took the enhanced status quo model and the Waikato Water Done Well model, and we put them through our options analysis process, which is Appendix 1 in the report in front of you today. And we looked at the qualitative benefits as well as the quantitative benefits. A couple of interesting words. It was close, and that's detailed in the report. However, the Waikato Water model demonstrates a range of qualitative benefits for our district that our in-house model couldn't replicate to the same degree, and that is detailed in the report. However, from a quantitative perspective, the analysis was less conclusive, and that's detailed in the report as well, and that's sort of centred around the 2 spectrums of the model under Waikato Water. And I suppose I'll emphasise again that these are models based on a huge range of assumptions. So as detailed in the report, you'll see that at one end of the spectrum, it's probably less favourable for Ōtorohanga District Council than the Waikato Water Done model, Well Done model. That being said, on the balance of all the information and the modelling available, Waikato Water Done Well is the preferred option for consultation due to the clear overall benefits for the district. But it is important that we still consider the financial or operational outcomes, which we have done, and I will draw you to the recommendation, section 3.3A and B, and you'll see how we've articulated this part. So the recommendation says the endorsement of Waikato Water Done Well as the preferred option for community consultation, noting that it is Council's intention to initially become a Stage 1 shareholder. In section B is transition to becoming a Stage 2 shareholder in 2027-28 is on the proviso that the district is no worse off financially and operationally under Waikato Water Done Well than it would be under the enhanced status quo model. So just to sort of tease that out a little bit better, so being a Stage 1 shareholder will obviously give Ōtorohanga the ability to influence in the design of the CCO from its inception and allow Ōtorohanga to make sure that the needs of our community are captured from the start. And this will also, section B will give us the option to review our position in 27-28 when we'll actually get to see some of the, I suppose, modelling start to play out. So, without any further from me, I'll take the report as read and take any questions.
Cool, thanks, Mike. You did a wonderful job summarising what was there and the journey we've been on. And I think I go back to what's made it harder for us, and I go back many years, I think when we looked at where the infrastructure needs of the Ōtorohanga Three Waters was heading, and our decision at that stage to bring the capital works forward from where we're sitting at that stage would have been very easy to keep on pushing out. And I think because we've done so much work and because our infrastructure appears to be so sound, I mean, we accept that there's a lot of the exploration that can't be done through the challenges around it, but we've invested in our infrastructure, therefore going forward makes it that much harder. But I think reading through that report, I actually stopped at one stage and paused and thought, I cannot believe the amount of work that's gone into this. The amount of work from staff and from Anne to get to where we are, to ensure that the decisions we're making are on solid grounds, because it is such a huge decision we're making, and I think we've used the term about moka decision making, that we're making these decisions for our future generations, which that's where you've got to leave sometimes the financial implications of where we're sitting today and think about where we are in another 20, 50, 100 years' time. So you're big decisions, but I'm just in awe of the work that's been done. So thank you to everybody that's been involved in this to make us, let us make our decisions. Questions of Mark, Luann, or anybody else?
Through you, Your Worship, I would like to thank Tanya and Mark and the entire team, because it has been a huge journey and it's been a big thing to get your head around. So thank you for all the reports and everything that's gone into it. It's been a good journey.
Thank you. I was watching the finger there, Councillor.
I was hesitating. I was relying on your eyesight, Your Worship. Look, it's not a question, it's more just a comment. I raised a couple of questions by email and copied that off to the other councillors and to obviously to Tanya and staff. So the only comment I'd like to make is that firstly, I certainly endorse the Mayor and Cathy, Councillor Prendergast's comments about this is the most comprehensive report I think I've read in a long time, and it took a lot of reading, to be honest, 250 pages of information, but well done. So the only thing I wanted to perhaps harp on about really was just to make sure in terms of being no worse off at the time that we transition. I just wanted to make sure that all of the deficits and debt relating to our water services had been properly accounted for and were actually being picked up by the new entity, so that we were no worse off in that respect. But the other comment too, and one of particular concern is the stranded overhead issue, which is yet to be addressed. I appreciate that these are all matters that are going to be addressed a bit later on down the track, but I don't think it hurts to start thinking about them now. And so they're really the only two concerns or matters that I wanted to just raise and just make sure that we're all aware of the implications of those. So, yeah. But no, other than that, Your Worship, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Johnson.
Yes, I'd like to just agree with those two councillors, and thank you for your comprehensive report, Mark. But I was just like to say that one of the most important things for me is that there's still a pathway of local voice from the people who use the water to the top. And I know it's doesn't feature very large in what we're achieving, but I look forward to the opportunity and the level of expectations that we can, have a pathway that we can, will certainly satisfy what I'm thinking of the rural water schemes. So, anyway, thank you, Matt. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Tanya.
Through you, Worship, just in response to Councillor Johnson's comments around, so we'll have an earlier opportunity to influence through the shareholders agreement. So I spent half a day on Friday with the other CEs working through sections of the shareholders agreement. So even before the statement of expectations, we'll have an opportunity to make sure that the recommendations that hopefully you pass today are reflected in that agreement, and that, I guess, is the advantage of staying in the tent.
Any further questions, comments, councillors? Councillor Dow.
Thanks for all your work, all your information. It's almost, to me anyway, you put so much into it. There's been so much reading, so much workshops, and it's and the decisions to me is very close. And but I'll go for a walk every morning at 6 o'clock and these thoughts go through your head and this bloody water thing's been following my brain up with thoughts, which I suppose anyway. But I kind of get to use your sporting analogy, the rules of the game have changed, but I actually think that our local team that we've got doing the water, they've got the ability to adapt. So I'm kind of leaning more to in-house. But I just, whatever you fellas decide, that's up to you, but that's, I just can't get my head around how a greater joining is going to make it better for our local community. Some of the regulatory thing, I think it's great here. People are scared of regulatory because we grew up in the old days where you didn't have all the bureaucratic stuff. But the young ones that we employ, they're used to it. It's every day to them. And I think they'll just enhance it and move on with it. It won't be a big deal, but whatever you decide as a group, that's fine. And I'll support your decision. But my walks, hopefully it'll be out of my brain because the decision will be made. But I just don't, I'm not, I realise it's just going to go to submission anyway. There's to be fair to talk about at this stage. Information's going to be.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. I think in terms of what you're saying is absolutely correct. I mean, my gut feeling I'd love to keep it in-house in terms of where I feel inside. And I think that is why in that 3.3 Part B is the proviso that we're no worse off is the key here for us. If we were going to go into this and we didn't have ourselves covered in that space, then it would be an incredibly challenging decision to make. So I think we just got to be really over that the whole time and ensure whatever agreement we make is ensuring that we're no worse off than what we would be with the enhanced status quo. Because again, the services delivery is going to be totally different to what it is today with the legislation requirements in place. Councillor Jeffries.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, Your Worship, but
Your finger looked like
I was nodding in agreement to what you were saying, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I'll comment on that, but I just think the fact that we're putting that in there, we're not sure. But then obviously the submission process is going to lead us down maybe things a bit clearer, consultation, sorry. And the fact, it'd be lovely to have your cake and eat it too, but
I think sadly and you're absolutely right, but sadly for the general public that they know this is all happening, but you think how much you've had to go through to get your head over and above this to what everybody else is. So the consultation is just it's an indication of what the public wants. I mean, it's not a referendum, it's a consultation. So we'll get the feedback on that. No further comments, councillors? Okay, we have a staff recommendation in front of us that Ōtorohanga District Council 3.1 received the following reports. A, water services option analysis, document number 815433. B, assessment of viability and sustainability of water service delivery, dated December 2024, and progress updating option discussion, dated February 2025, from Becker, Martin Jenkins, and Mayfick. Document numbers 815434 and 815 435. C, proposal for Waikato Water Done Well, dated 20 March 2025, and supplementary financial analysis for Ōtorohanga District Council, dated 20 March 2025. Document numbers 815436 and 815437. 3.2, note that the following considerations of the water services arrangement options available at Council, only two options were deemed likely to meet the legislative requirements, these being an enhanced status quo option and a multi-council CCO option, Waikato Water Done Well. 3.3, endorse Waikato Water Done Well as the preferred option for community consultation, noting that A, it is the Council's intention to initially become a Stage 1 shareholder, and B, transition to become a Stage 2 shareholder in 27-28 is on the proviso that the district is no worse off financially and operationally under Waikato Water Done Well than it would be under the enhanced status quo model. And finally, 3.4, make available as part of a community consultation process information relating to the analysis of the enhanced status quo as the other reasonable practical option identified under the Local Government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act of 2024. I'd like to move that. Seconded, Councillor Prendergast. All in favour? Aye. Against? Against. Got that noted, Councillor? Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Thank you, team. Moving on to Item 226, local water done well consultation document. So Nadia's taken the hot seat. Awesome. Welcome, Nadia. That is page 214.
Mōrena e te komatua me ngā kaikonihira. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Like Mark, I'd like to begin with some acknowledgements for the considerable effort that has gone into developing the Korowai Let's Talk Water consultation document. A huge thank you to Anne and Helen and the wider team for the work that has gone into shaping this complex kaupapa into a document that is not only accessible but genuinely engaging for our community. Translating technical, often complicated information into something clear and meaningful is no small task, and this document, I think, reflects that care and effort. As we all know, the decision ahead regarding the future of water delivery services is significant, not only for our infrastructure, but also for our people, our future generations and the environment. Our role here with this particular report is to ensure that our community has the information they need to understand what is being proposed and the opportunity to provide meaningful feedback. His Worship mentioned earlier, we've held lots of workshops, we've gone deep with the information that we've provided you, and it still has moments where it trips us up. It is very complex. So trying to translate this for our community is important, but we have to keep in mind, I guess, the limitations that has. And while the consultation document is deliberately focused on clarity and simplicity, we've made sure that those who want to dig deeper can do so, and throughout the consultation document, you'll see that there's links to our dedicated webpage and to that further information. And I think I've shared that with you too. The new legislation that central government put through gave councils the option to reduce the normal 4-week consultation period and the option to not hold hearings and deliberations. You have previously resolved to maintain our normal consultation methodology of 4 weeks of having hearings, knowing the importance of this decision, and the CD captures that process. With that, I'm happy to take questions.
No questions, but if no one else is going to jump in, I just want to say, well done, congratulations. You know, I'm all about layman's terms and easy to read, and I just think it's a wonderful consultation document. So please tell everyone else involved.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, just one quick question. I probably missed it, Nadia, but was there somewhere in here that says that by going with www that it's on the proviso that no worse? There is something there, is there?
Yes, there is.
Great.
Yeah.
And I guess just a point of clarification, if we reach the stage where it can be demonstrated that we will be worse off, then I guess our fallback position would be then the enhanced status quo option. Is that right?
That probably sits outside this reform.
Yes.
It opens up discussion, Councillor. We've talked on and there are so many assumptions, it's really, really hard to tell. And I think we'll have greater clarity come 27. So we're 2 years away from that position yet, and once the other councils have gone and been part of the CCO and they've gone to stage 2, then we'll get a clear indication. But that there would be what we look at. But the proviso is that we're not going to go into this if we're going to be either financially or operationally worse off.
If I could just add to that, Your Worship, it may be that over the course of 2 years, other options emerge as well. Like there may end up orphan councils who aren't part of the CCO, who then there's an opportunity to join with, and it's a 2-council collaboration. So I think probably my feeling is we'd go back to an assessment of what options are available to us, including enhanced status quo, but there may be other options that we can't even foresee at the moment that emerge.
Because I guess that at any stage anyway, we still have the option to pull out.
Absolutely.
So
The big part of the balance now, as Mark said earlier when he was talking, is it's about entering stage one so we can be a part of the discussion around the table. We wait for a couple of years and we haven't had any input in terms of the structure of the organisation, that there's no advantage to us. But, so for the next 2 years, keeping in mind we are carrying on as an in-house model until 2027 with the new regulations in tow. Councillor Johnson.
Just for, I don't want to stress the point too much, but regarding rural water schemes, and I'm just looking at page 223, there's a nice little comment diagram there. Just the last sentence. It says, as for rural water scheme committees, they will no longer be required. And then it just says, however, they will continue to exist, but no longer will have the ability to influence rates. So I understand that, but the fact that they will no longer be required, it's a bit harsh. Can we edit that? I mean, this is part of having input.
It's true.
They will
Under
no longer
this
be
model.
required to determine what the pricing is. They'll no longer be required to determine what the infrastructure needs are. So, yeah, Tanya's absolutely right. They'll still have a voice around the table, but they were, as a committee themselves, as when I was answering Councillor Dow's email yesterday, it's like the rural water schemes have the option, and they can have the option to go alone, but they still have to comply with Te Mate Awhai. And as I said in that email, that is a massive responsibility for a group of volunteers sitting around the table to make those big decisions. Should something go wrong, the onus falls on their shoulders as a committee.
So what's the the representation for those water committees?
Through at this stage, we can't promise anything because that representative group is the parameters and the composition of the representative group is yet to be decided. So I can't sit here and hand on my heart say that rural water schemes will be represented on the shareholders representative group, but I'm sure as Waikato Water done well, as we've emphasised, as a mix of rural and provincial councils, it would be silly not to have that representation on that group to influence the board.
Yeah, I just think it's really important to have that pathway, regardless of how effective it is, but they have to have the ability to speak their mind and make their comments about how the water schemes are effective.
Through you, Your Worship, regarding exactly that point, won't the ability be for us to communicate through the letter of representation? Doesn't everything go back to that licensing entity?
I think that'll be part of the establishment of the governance group and then the stakeholder group, that there is those clear lines of communication, and the expectation from the stakeholder group would be that the information is fed back, that there is open lines of communication both ways. So I think that the big thing, if we think about the rural water schemes, all we're after as a rural water scheme user is reliable and, if the case, potable drinking water. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's kind of like the argument we've had, or the discussion we've had about who owns the infrastructure. It's kind of a redundant argument or discussion, because as long as you get the supply, that is the key element. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, just in terms of a status I've got the status update on the shareholders agreement. So the work in progress, one of the pieces of work in progress is Schedule 1, the terms of reference of the reference group. And so I think representative group, and so I think, obviously we'll have an opportunity to ensure that that is important to us, and therefore we want to see it reflected in the terms of reference for that group.
Thank you, Tanya. Councillor Dowd and Councillor Williams.
Just on the ownership of rural schemes, because it has popped up in our initial writings on page 53. We were talking about, and some of the farmers think they're going to get money back, that was a concern that they brought up in the rural scheme, so but that ownership is kind of important a little bit in that respect. I know that everyone just wants water coming out the tap or water coming out the trough, but who actually does, like, so what happens is that they get together and challenge it, so you can't give away our asset because we own it. It's kind of a bit awkward.
So I think where we've come to is even Simpson Grierson could not give us a legal opinion on who owns those rural water schemes. And at the end of the day, it would be, does council really want to buy that site? Give the schemes their assets. I certainly wouldn't be advising you to battle that one. If they want to keep the assets, they're usually on their land, the pipes run through their properties, then I really think it's a battle we shouldn't necessarily
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But it will make a massive difference to our modelling, our financial modelling, because as I understand, there's no way of separating, Brendan said there was no way of separating rural revenue from town revenue when he did all this analysis. So really you need to separate the two out just in case, because otherwise the rural people might think they're subsidising town people think they're subsidising the rural. So I think the cost centres need a bit of fixing up there, I guess there's work to do in the next couple of years.
They can always withdraw. That's what it is.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a Waikato water done well, and I think the number of rural water supply schemes that we've got in our district, I know it's important to maintain the voice for them, but there are other districts who are more dependent on a rural water supply scheme, and we're working together as a group of 7, and so I'm sure that the interests are not going to be lost for rural water people or who are relying on a scheme. It's not just us trying to maintain our voice for our rural water people, because we'll be working with 6 other councils, and some of them or one of them at least, the whole district needs a scheme in order for their farms to run. So I don't think it'll be lost.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. We have a staff recommendation in front of us that Ōtorohanga District Council approve Korero Wai Let's Talk Water Local Water Done Well consultation document number 815027. I'd like to move that. Seconded Councillor Tamaki. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Nadia. Good luck. Oh, that's right, it's me, isn't it?
You're coming with us, aren't you?
Okay, yeah, I'll be there. Okay, with no further agenda items, we'll go back to our karakia for closing. Mā te whakapono,
Mā te tūmanako, mā te titiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te whanawanui, mā te aroha, ka taia e tātou.
Thank you, everybody.